Welcome everybody. Welcome to Fitness Talk. I'm your host Kevin. Today we're gonna have a great show. Today's topic, you see what it says, you see what it means. Is the black man's health and value. So before we discuss and talk about this, I want everybody to like and subscribe or to comment and share the video because this is gonna be a great topic. Today my guest is, you see, he always been here all the time, brother Titus Unlimited. How you doing, my brother?
I'm fantastic, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. And before we start, everybody, if you have any questions or you want to come on the show, I'm gonna leave the link on the chat. Also, if you have any questions, I'm gonna read it and me, Titus will answer as best we can. Okay. So we're gonna start it off. Titus, in the black community, what is the problem with men's health?
Um, well, one of the major problems with men's health is that there's a certain disconnect. I believe there's a certain level of delusion about health. Um, we we're not in tune with what really being healthy is. Um, a lot of black men don't see the doctor,
Mhm.
and um, and that's something that's pervasive in the entire African American community, for real. Clinical obesity is up to 47% in the African American community. 47%. All right. African American men are 37.1% obese in comparison to their counterparts, which would be, let's say, Caucasian men, which are, 32% obese. African American women are 56.6% obese compared to their, counterparts, which are 32%. A lot of it is misinformation,
Yeah.
but there's a fair amount of it that's just stubbornness, you know.
Mm. Yeah, because I can show the statistics of what what causes the death of black men. Like I said, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. Like we heard a story about him, about there's a rumor I don't know it's allegedly that he had a heart attack. I think where he had chest pain that causing the pass. And I remember Charlemagne the guy was talking about everybody just laughing about him saying his death, but you gotta think about it, that's bad that we see black men. That's the number one cause of death is heart attack. So I have the statistics that shows that many black men have actually you know passed away what caused death. So if you look at what's the leading cause, you see this is a heart disease, you see cancer, you see homicide, you see stroke. So I'm trying to figure what's the reason why us black men have problems with our health. Is it poverty? Is it society? What's really the main problem? What causing us to be this ill that easily?
Um, well, historically, we haven't been one to take care of our health. Men in general, historically,
Mm-hmm.
do not take as much care of their health. Men are taught to, rub some dirt on it and keep it moving. Don't complain. Don't whine. And especially black men, we develop this mentality that we're invincible. You
Yeah.
know, um, just like speaking about Kevin Samuels. That's almost a personal story to me because he actually reached out to me personally a couple of times about his health,
Mm.
and we were scheduled to talk and meet. He said he needed help getting his health together. 2021, 2022, he wanted to get it together, and you know, and he had followed me long before he became, you know, I guess before he blew up and went viral.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we set an appointment to talk and discuss his health, something else came up. And we've been taught to chase money. We've been taught to chase everything, to put everything first and our health last, you know. And that's something that's pervasive in our society, period, especially with men and even more so with black men.
Yeah.
Okay. Very few black men actually see a doctor. Okay. Why? Because we think we're tough.
Mm.
We're told to be tough.
Yeah.
We're told you suck it up. Okay. And the truth is, a lot of times, honestly, most people don't want to hear you complain.
Mm.
Okay. Because if you're not out there paying your bills, if you're not out there hustling, no one's going to give you anything as a man, especially as a black
Yeah.
man. And so a lot of times it's ingrained in us to neglect our health. But it comes at a serious price. You know, people might be chuckling about Kevin Samuels. I find that very distasteful.
Yeah.
But let's take a step back. Okay. That 50 to 55 range, how many of our good brothers have we seen die in that range? John Singleton,
Yep.
Bernie Mac. I know I had at least 5 personal friends who have died between that 50 to 55 range. You know why? Because we neglect our bodies over a certain period of time.
Hmm.
And chronic neglect of your body, plus decline in certain natural hormones, stress, poor eating, alcohol, tobacco, poor sleep, over a decade or so, it breaks the human body down. You know, sadly, if you even look at Brother Samuels, every night he was on, you saw him drinking that Red Bull,
Yeah.
right? That's like constantly just supercharging your heart. You know, you're not sleeping enough. You're steadily giving yourself stimulants to stay up, to work
Hmm.
more, to make more.
Hmm.
And when your body says it's done, you know, I always make the statement. I said, you know, if you don't take the time to take care of your health, when that health bill is due, a lot of times you ain't carrying that much cash to pay it.
Yeah.
You know,
I was just thinking. I was
and as
thinking.
opposed to people laughing,
Mhm. Go ahead. No, go
you know,
ahead.
as opposed to people laughing, I think they should take. Yeah, I was saying, as opposed to people laughing, I think they should take that as a learning lesson. You know, as a teachable moment.
Mm.
Okay, because you can be flying high, you can have all the money, you can have all the popularity, but if you don't take care of the most important thing to you, which is your health,
Mhm.
right? All of it can be gone,
Yep. Yep.
including you.
Yep. I agree. I was thinking because I was listening to some of the people that was close to him as well. They say he's a go getter. He just work and work and work. And I always tell people, I said his glass. People think that another drink. I said no. That's I've been watching him for a minute. He drinks Red Bull almost constantly at almost all his shows. And that causes heart
Yeah.
problems, seizures, nerve damage. So that I think that it just took a toll on his body. And a man that was a cancer survivor, and now he's a man in his 50s, and he just go, and then his body just gave out. Like we grew up in this generation, like my generation, your generation, we always had that saying: to become a millionaire, become successful, you don't sleep. Rich people do not sleep. Like what did that narrative come from? Like why did they tell us that we just forget our health, worry about get the money?
Um, because you know, let's be real. By and large, it is true. You know, um, in order to attain a certain level of wealth, you know, you have to sacrifice. I know I had to sacrifice to get a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, but one of the things I also learned, and I was fortunate enough to learn, I was fortunate enough, unfortunately, to see my mother and my father die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in seeing that, I crafted my path to the top of the ladder in a different way. I put my health first because I understood, you know, how I looked at it is this. I looked at people because a lot of people don't know this, but I was actually a stockbroker. I
Oh
worked for
wow.
Morgan Stanley for quite a while.
Oh
And I
wow.
remember in the early 90s being in the office, and the top broker in the office, I won't call his name, he was an older white guy. And he was grossing at that time, you know, he was probably grossing about 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he was walking in the office and everybody was admiring him, you know, talking about how much money he made and all that kind of stuff like that. But he was coming in the office and, you know, at 60 and he had his oxygen tank with him.
Mm.
And I'm looking at him like, that's not the move.
Yeah.
Because if I had the level of money that he has at that age, I would want to have the capacity to be able to enjoy that money. And there's no way I can possibly enjoy that money to the fullest if I'm walking around with an oxygen tank.
Mm.
So I'm willing to assume that if I got 3/4 of that amount of money, but still had maximum health, I would be in a better position than he is.
Yeah.
So what I must do is I must protect my health. Okay. And even if it takes me a little bit longer to get the money, but I have my health, I'll be able to enjoy it more.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what we learned, and what I have learned, and I've seen as proof with myself, being in my 50s, I still have the same energy. I still have the same vitality that I have, that most guys would be enjoying in their late 20s. All right.
Mm.
Body wise, nothing has changed in the last in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And some things even better.
Yeah.
All right. And um and that's only because of consistent work
Mm-hmm.
and being mindful and respecting my body, understanding what I put into my body, understanding what it is that I want to get out of my body. All right. And even going back to somebody like this story with Kevin Samuels, drinking Red Bull all the time, caffeine. A lot of people don't even understand that
Mm-hmm.
caffeine robs your body of calcium. That's the most dominant mineral in your body. Caffeine also stops your body from uploading magnesium. Magnesium is your body's master mineral. In the absence of caffeine and magnesium, you're going to have muscle spasms. You're going to have heart rhythm problems. You're going to have many other issues that are going to arise just by those minerals being deficient over an extended period of time. You're going to have erectile dysfunction. You're going to have breathing issues. You're going to have sleep issues. You're going to age faster. Okay. If you're a female, guess what? You're going to have hormonal issues like, menopause and these things like that. And so the level of neglect that I see people engage in, and even when we look at what's promoted,
Mm-hmm.
when we look at TV, what do we see all the time promoted? Caffeine
Mm-hmm.
drinks,
Yep.
processed food, sugary stuff. All these things are things that actually deplete your body of necessary nutrients
Mm-hmm.
that you need to survive.
Yeah.
All right. And when I tell people, I was just having this conversation last night, you are being programmed to be sick,
Mm.
because that is when you're at most use to our capitalistic system, when you're sick and when you're in debt.
Yep.
Okay. Because they don't need, before, 400 years ago, they need to change you to change you up to make you show up for work.
Mm.
Now, all they need to do is get you in debt and make you sick. Because if you're in debt, you got to show up to pay those bills, and you can't afford to show up because you can't afford to lose your health insurance because you can't pay for it out of pocket. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
So now you really have to show up. And so you're really no different than the slaves in the past, except they just have a different chain.
Mm.
And how do you do that? You teach people how to neglect their health for long enough to where you have to be the one to save them. The healthcare industry, which is not really even healthcare, is sick care.
Yeah.
When you look at the United States, 70% of the population is on prescription drugs.
Yeah.
And those are the people who can afford to even go to the doctor.
Yeah. That's that's the truth. That's the truth because if everybody's healthy, the hospital, the healthcare don't make no money. So the more sick people they get, the more money they come in their pocket. So it's about the money. So I was just I want to ask you about the Kevin Samuels, not to be a topic about just about him. Like, did he ever, like, I know he you said he contacted you to get his health get together. Why did he never like promote it more about health on his platform to about this not just for men but women as well too?
Um, because for most people, health is an afterthought. I mean, he kind of talked about it, but he
Yeah,
talked about it more so from an image standpoint,
yeah.
about what you look like,
Mhm.
your dress size. Even
Mhm.
though sometimes your size is not really an indication of your actual health.
Mhm.
However, if you're plus size, generally you're not in good health. But
Yep.
it's not an indication. You have some people who are of normal size that are unhealthy,
Mhm.
case in point, but a lot of times people don't really associate that health as the most important thing. When you're seeking a mate, right? I mean, since that was what he was talking about all the time, I'm looking at your habits, your health habits, because the health habits you have are the health habits that I'm going to have to combat as your mate. And not only that, but those are the health habits you will teach to my children.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody teaching my children health habits that are going to wind them on the diabetes list, on the heart problem list, in the obesity category. That's more important, honestly, sometimes than one's capacity to make money, because an overweight person spends over $1,500 more for healthcare than somebody who is the incapacity, the limitations, and all those things like that. That's actually very important, because you can learn how to make money, right? But once you destroy your health, it's very hard to get it back. I know a lot of it, but once you've neglected your health to a certain point, and is in a certain level of disrepair, there's very little you can do.
Yeah. I
You know.
agree. I definitely agree. So why is the narrative? Because I'm one of them black men. Why are we fearful to go to the doctor? Like I'm just like I just don't want to. I don't know. Why are we so fearful to go see the doctor, get our blood checked, and get a physical?
Um, it's well founded, because throughout the history of African Americans, especially in the United States and even in Africa, a lot of times uh, former systems have actually preyed on us black men and black women as experiments. Tuskegee experiment is one of them, and many other examples of the sort. A lot of times these systems try out procedures,
Mm-hmm.
even like, not to bring up an ugly part of history, but the father of quote unquote gynecology used to buy black women slaves to experiment on them. That's how we have the gynecological science and all that kind of stuff right now, from him experimenting on people of color. And so that phobia of going to the doctor has stuck. A lot of times people feel that the avoidance of not knowing is better than knowing that you're dying, which it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things, and I don't, to a certain extent, I don't necessarily blame people, but let's assume you don't want to go to the doctor, right, for everything that's wrong with you. But if you don't want to go to the doctor, then it's incumbent on you to educate yourself about your health. It's incumbent on you to know how to take care of yourself. But if you don't know how to take care of yourself, and you won't at least go to the doctor so he can tell you what's wrong, then now you're really flying blind. So like there's an old saying, and that saying was actually put out, I believe, by Hippocrates, right? A man who is not his own doctor is a fool.
Yeah.
Okay, you
That's a good
should be
saying.
your own doctor. You should be the leading expert of what's going on in your body.
Yeah.
Okay, you should understand how to feed your body. You should understand what it means when certain things are going wrong. You should know
Mm-hmm.
how to tinker and twit. And you know what? Even if you just go to the doctor, your conventional medical doctor, once or twice a year for a checkup, just to prove yourself right that you're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But you must go, because if you don't go, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, you can't solve anything or hit anything off at the path. That doesn't mean you have to take all their recommendations, but at least go and see if everything is working right. And if it's not working right, what are you saying is wrong? And then you can go back, because once again, this is 2022. Somebody says you got high blood pressure. Okay, no problem. They want to prescribe you pills. Okay, you know what? Let me think about it. You can go back. You can find natural remedies for high blood pressure. I just posted, natural remedies for high blood pressure the other day. I've worked with many of people and got them off of high blood pressure medication naturally. I've gotten people off of diabetic medication naturally. But you got to know that you are diabetic or have high blood pressure for me to be able to help you.
Yeah.
And sadly, 90% of the people who have been able to get off of high blood pressure and diabetic medication were not men; they were women.
Mm.
Why? Because the women will go and check, the men will not.
Yeah, that's true. That's,
You see what I'm
that's,
saying? And
that's
that is the biggest problem.
yeah, especially a prostate exam. A lot of I had a lot of stories. Black men like, nope, I ain't getting no prostate exam. There ain't nobody touch me back there. But it's
Well, there
amazed
you
that
go.
it's amazed at how we, like you said. I'm actually I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. A man has to become his own doctor. I like that. I like that term. That's a new term for
Yeah.
me. So now we could just we
A
talk
man
about
who is not his own doctor is a fool.
yeah, a man that's not his own doctor is a fool. Yeah, I gotta remember that. I gotta remember that. I gotta definitely remember that. But yeah, so we're gonna now we talking about health. Now we're gonna talk about the value for the black. What affects the black man's value? And I got five things that I think that affects the man's value. I think hip hop music affected a man's value. What I mean by that, I think I don't know, it was Farrakhan that said this back then. That he said that the hip hop music will damage the black community, and I think it did. Not just for men, for women as well too. When it comes to the crime, to the gang violence, to the drugs, like, do you agree to that? Hip hop affected the black community, especially for black men.
Um, Hip hop was engineered in its later life
Mm-hmm.
as a source of degradation. Hip hop wasn't always what it is now. There was a time where hip hop had, conscious rappers. You might be too young to remember people like Poor Righteous Teachers and stuff like that. They were actually coming up and talking about positive stuff. That's when you looked on TV and you saw shows about HBCUs, like A Different World and things like that. And then uh, hip hop was bastardized, and certain people were not allowed to make music anymore. And then they shifted hip hop and used uh, certain people to now promote materialism and sexism and
Mm-hmm.
promiscuity and drug use. And they put those people in front of you now as icons,
Yeah.
and they claim that they're the best ever and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff like that. And sadly, Malcolm X told you in the 60s, he said, when the system applauds and promotes a black man, he is no longer working for you.
Mm.
Now take a step back and see who the system applauds and promotes, and then take a further step back and see what it is that this person is promoting to you. If you listen to some songs, I chuckle sometimes. You listen to some songs, it's almost like a how to go to jail. You know, like who the hell wants to sell drugs on an iPhone when you know the iPhones are tapped?
Yeah.
You know, but they keep permeating your mind with these things, and you get young, impressionable guys, and they think they're doing something when they on their phone conducting drug business on their iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
I
it's crazy.
it was
You
I don't know
know,
you I
every
don't know you
everybody thinks there's some.
no go ahead.
Everybody thinks there's something that they're walking around. And they got a PO. If you got a PO, you a failure as a criminal. Think about it.
You're right.
You're a failure as a criminal if you got a PO.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just keeping it what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
I
but we
just
celebrate these things.
that's crazy, man. No, go ahead. I was just thinking that's
And when
crazy.
you have young, impressionable minds, doing this,
Mm-hmm.
right, you have to realize you create images, and these people emulate these images because these images are highlighted. You know, these images are highlighted. And so when you take, a young lady who worked as an adult entertainer, right, and women have been doing this forever, right, and it's for some people paid their way through college with it. So there's nothing wrong with doing it. But
Mm-hmm.
there is something wrong with celebrating it and promoting it in a society as a path to
Yeah.
success. Because
Glorifying
guess
it.
what happens to 95% of Yeah, 95% of the people who actually take that path do not reach success.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
But when you take people out of that and you continuously promote it, now you have an entire generation of people thinking that this is the move.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but yeah, hip hop music has done, and people always art. I always talk about the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I had a live about that the other day. I said, we wake up in the mornings and we repeat positive affirmations, right? Because what people don't realize is your subconscious mind makes 95% of your decisions. Okay, 95% of your decisions are made in your subconscious mind. And that's why you repeat positive affirmations. I am great. I will be great. It will be a great day. I am grateful. You say that enough, guess what? But what happens if you're listening to music that constantly repeats, I'm a bitch, I'm a hoe, I'm a thug, I'm a nigga?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happens? Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. Your
Mm-hmm.
subconscious mind registers that. If you continuously are repeating songs that are adversarial, and you always at odds, and you got all these haters, and all these bitches and these niggas are hating on me and all that kind of stuff like that. What do you think is going on in your subconscious? That's the soundtrack of your life.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes the soundtrack of your life.
Mm.
And then you see these things play out in our society. You see young boys who 15 years old walking around with guns, with clips this long. You know, they don't
Mm.
even understand the repercussions of taking a life, but they've
Yeah.
heard it so many times in a song, and it's
Yeah.
the soundtrack of their life. So they seek out situations for this to happen, and when it happens, they pull the trigger. They lose their lives. Okay, and either they lose their lives from the bullet, or they lose their lives from going in jail,
Yeah.
where they can work them for 60 cents a day. What people don't understand is slavery never ended. They just repackaged it so that we can have a continuous conveyor belt. And hip
Yeah.
hop is one of the tools they use.
Yeah. Like Kanye said, the new slavery is the mind now. So we so caught up with, like you said, materialistic stuff. Like it's to a point. I don't know that this is true, but you have women or people just go to Dubai and sell themselves to degrade themselves for a couple thousands, or you just have people
Well,
just.
that's been the case since the 90s.
Oh, really? Oh, that's not that's new
Yeah.
to
I mean, what
me.
people don't understand is that Dubai was built for super rich
Mm-hmm.
Arab men, so they wouldn't have to go to places like Macau and Vegas. It was their sin city. Back in the early 90s or so, when Dubai first was just desert, and they built it up. The only women that you really saw in Dubai were prostitutes.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
would fly them in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times before you participate in things, you may want to find out the history of it,
Yeah. Oh, I'm not
you
going to
know?
Dubai. I heard stories about Dubai. I think I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I don't need to go to middle country all that.
Well, I mean, if you're really, well, the average person really cannot truly enjoy Dubai for what Dubai really is. Dubai is a place for the super rich. I remember the seven-star hotel in Dubai. This was in the 90s. The cheapest room per night in that seven-star hotel was $25,000. This was in the 90s.
Yeah,
$25,000 a night.
man.
So now they've made little packages for poor people to come and pretend like they went to Dubai, but you didn't really see Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, like we already talked about how that affected the black community. Uh, Now this is my thing. I think when it comes to porn, social media, and the internet, I think the effect of the black man, especially when a younger age, because we are so enticed to. I used to joke about it's so easy, especially Instagram. It's so easy to see porn in a young age because it's so free. It's so easy to be accessed to. Do you agree that it affects the black men with porn and social media and internet?
Not so much porn. Um, Everybody has been able to watch porn pretty freely since the 70s. You know, we all had the uncle that had the stack of magazines or the tapes
Mm-hmm.
underneath his bed. The porn thing, not so much. What has happened more so is the internet and social media, where we see regular girls
Mm.
doing things that I mean, just putting stuff out that just anybody can see. And the question is like, why are you doing that? For likes, for attention,
Mm-hmm.
and you will always find an audience, you know, for that. But when you see that so much as a young man, it actually skews your expectations of what a woman is, what a woman should do, you know, and it actually almost cheapens the experience. You know, for the life of me, I don't even know how strip clubs are even still in business when you got Instagram. You ain't got to go to the strip club, you know, and it's unfortunate, um, but we love to use this word in the Black community, culture. We do it for the culture,
Yeah.
and one of the things I have found is that the truth is we're really cultureless right now. All right,
Mm-hmm.
we throw that word around, but we're cultureless. Okay, we don't have any standards.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
We make it up as we go. We don't support our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have not established guidelines of behavior. We don't have a society. Okay, any society has guidelines, but in the Black community, it's a free for all. And everybody, as soon as somebody, say, let that person do what they got to do, they're not bothering you. Yes, they are bothering you,
Mm-hmm.
but because they're upsetting the status quo, and every good society has to have a status quo.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have rules. Okay. And I think this lack of rules, this lack of boundaries, this lack of decorum, okay, once again, degenerative behavior is not the exclusive right of any demographic. Every demographic has degenerates, okay? It's just unfortunate that in the African American community, we celebrate, promote, and exalt our degenerates,
Yeah.
all right? We hold them up as heroes, as examples of how to be, and why? Just because they got money, just because they're popular, just because they got a couple million followers,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And sometimes we have to ask ourselves, like, you know, how would I feel if my daughter was doing that? You know? But in most of their cases, guess what? If she was getting that money, and, you know, speaking of the value of a man, I always tell people this. The value of a man is best calculated when you take away all his money and you see what he actually represents to himself and his
Mm-hmm.
community.
Yeah.
What does he inspire people to do, good or bad? How has he actually added life or growth into his community?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a lot of times when somebody has a whole lot of money and cars and things, calculating that value can be dangerous because we get sidetracked. Okay. And usually the value of a man is best calculated when he's dead. Because when you're dead, you have no more money, you have no more cars. Now it boils down to what did you actually represent? What did you inspire people to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what seeds of growth did you plant versus weeds?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so when we look at some of our hip hop stars, unfortunately, that die at the tip of a gun, right? We got to ask ourselves, what was their real value? Yeah, they had a lot of money. Yeah, they talked about drugs and selling drugs. Some of them never even sold no drugs. That's the funny part. you know.
That's true. Like
But at
it's
day's
crazy.
end,
It's crazy you talk about money. That's one of the topics about money because you hear about not just in the community. We talk about how women expect men to have money. That's the only value they good for, or men just do anything for a certain time for money. Like why is that? I just don't get the concept. I do we want to make money? Yes, because that we need that for lifestyle living. We got to pay for the bills, rent, whatever. But why we value money so much, especially for black men?
because of conditioning, you know, they condition everybody around you to think that your money makes you.
Mm-hmm.
Your money doesn't make you. Okay, having money is nice. Having money is good. You know, but let's be real. You know, when we exalt people that have money, sometimes we have to take a step back. How did you get that money? Right? Suppose somebody was a multimillionaire, but they made their multi-millions off of coming into the community, kidnapping girls from the community and selling them to prostitution. But they come back every Christmas and Thanksgiving and give you turkeys.
Yeah.
Is that a hero of yours? Is that somebody you should be celebrating or exalting as an example of who a black man should be
Mm.
or who a person should be? What's the difference between that guy who basically kidnaps and sells your daughters into prostitution and the guy who makes songs about your kids using drugs and basically prostituting themselves, or the girl who promotes that kind of behavior, you know, having sex with guys for money, right? Think about the influence she's having on your children. And then, oh, that's not my fault. You know, I'm just making my music. Yeah, but your music is poisoning the crop.
Yep.
It's poisoning the community. So what you're saying is you don't care about what your music is doing as long as they buy it, right? And so let's go back to value again. What is your real value?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you're putting toxic waste into your community. You're getting paid for it. You're loving it. You feel you owe no loyalty to the very people that are making you rich.
Yeah.
And the sad thing about it is that the people are not even smart enough to realize who's poisoning them and to stop supporting the people who poison them and maybe lend your support to the people who are actually trying to uplift you, even though they may not sound as nice and letting you do what you want and putting down certain parameters and saying, hey, there are rules.
Yeah.
But your society does require rules.
Yeah. That's that's the truth. Like I believe that as a black man, I think we lack self control. I don't know if you agree to that, but I think we lack self control, accountability. Um, I just feel like
We lack
I
discipline.
yeah, I look at even though he's a wealthy man, I look at Nick Cannon. Is he a businessman? He a smart man? He a con man? Yes, but I told people he's a role model. The way he's moving about, sleeping with different women and getting pregnant by 8 different women, that's showing that's showing a bad example because a lot of men is not in his position to financially take care of that many families. But you got men that's in the hood that say, "Oh, Nick Cannon could do that. I could do that." The next thing you got all these kids that's child fatherless because the father is not able to take care of the child. He's not able to financially even help the child, and now he's getting arrested, go to jail because of child support. Like, why is why
Well,
is
I don't know whether or not I don't know whether or not I would use Nick Cannon as an example because number one, if he is being financially responsible, then you cannot do that if you're not capable. So
mm-hmm,
he's not telling you to do that if you're not capable. He's
mm-hmm,
doing that because he is. Now, I don't know whether or not he's what the financial situation with all those people are, so I can't speak on that. But what I'm just saying, just generally, because I can afford to spend $2 million on a Bugatti, doesn't mean that because you see me do it that you should do it. You may not have that to spend. So that's
mm-hmm,
that's different. All
mm-hmm,
right. And as long as he's not taking advantage of these women and lying to these women and getting them in these positions,
mm-hmm,
right? Then these are two consenting adults making a decision. So I wouldn't necessarily say that he would be a bad example, right?
mm-hmm.
He may not be an example that many people may want to follow because you're not in the same boat as he is. And maybe maybe he might want to, since he's a public figure, explain what he's doing, but he doesn't owe us an explanation. The only people he owes an explanation to are the women he's having babies with, and the only people he owes a responsibility to are the babies he's having. That's it.
That's true.
So I don't necessarily think that as a bad example. But what I do think a bad example is somebody putting out toxic music, right, and presenting an image, but at the same time coming on TV and saying, no, I will not let my child listen to that type of music. So you're letting my child listen to it. You're happy to promote that to mine, but you won't let that be promoted to yours. I mean, Cardi B said the exact word.
Yeah, she did.
She said she would not allow her daughter to follow and do the things that she does, right? Yeah. But she has no problem with your daughter listening to it, and worry about your kids, and I don't blame her for saying, are the people, the parents in the community that continues to support and buy her music, because she's basically saying she doesn't care about your community.
No.
And the only reasons why she's able to make the millions that she makes is because you keep buying and listening to her stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you think when it comes to greed and selfishness, do you think that's part of the reason in the Black community that's bringing the downfall?
Yes. Once again, we're not taught community. We don't have a community. We have individuals that are all of the same complexion, but we don't have a community. All right. First of all, like I always talk about value, right? The true value of a man is predicated on what you put into your community. There's a quote, the true measure of a gentleman, right, is one who puts more into the world than he takes out. Okay. What is it that you're adding to your community? What is it that you're bringing? How are you uplifting? How are you building? Not how much money are you garnering for yourself. Okay. And so, yes, getting money and having money is great. Having nice things are great. But are you just making a living, or are you building a life? Because the life that you built doesn't end when you die. As a matter of fact, that's when it actually begins sometimes. Okay. How you inspire people, what fire you light in people lasts way longer than what trinkets, money you give or you had. That means nothing. A lot of us are alive today and pursuing certain dreams simply because somebody lit a fire they inspired. How many young girls today run track because of FloJo? She never gave them a dime.
Yeah.
She gave them a dream. She gave them inspiration. Okay. How many boys today, are in the position they're in because they heard the story of Muhammad Ali or of Jesse Owens? How many people have been inspired by the life of Bob Marley? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And these people actually grew when they died. Right? How many people are going to be inspired by the life of, pick a rapper once they die?
Yeah.
Think about it.
It's
that's
crazy.
your value. And that selfish behavior of not planting seeds.
Yeah.
There's an old quote that has governed the latter half of my life, and that quote is very simple. The man who plants a tree knowing that he will never sit in the shade nor enjoy the fruit has a perfect understanding of life.
Deep, man. That's
the man who plants a tree knowing he will never sit in the shade nor enjoy the fruit. Now look at your life. There are fruit and shade that you enjoy today because somebody planted a tree, laid their life on the line, knowing full well that they would not enjoy the fruit nor the shade. Your Malcolm X's, your Martin Luther Kings, right? These men pretty much knew they were going to get killed. But they didn't make small sacrifices for me and my family. They looked at their community and they sacrificed for their community. And that's why we have the fruit, the shade. Now look amongst our people. How many people you see today planting trees, knowing that they probably won't enjoy the shade nor the fruit? Those are the people you should be following. The ones who are planting the trees, the ones who are sacrificing, the ones who are laying it out, the ones who are standing on principle, not the ones who are bastardizing themselves to sell you the latest product and telling you, fuck you, I'm doing this for me and my family.
That's selfish
And that's
culture,
where the black
man.
community has it twisted.
That's selfish culture, man. It's sad that we have to talk like this because, like you said, we don't have no culture, we don't have no structure. I remember somebody that's what Kevin Samuels was preaching about. I remember that's the crazy part. He was just talking about how when you got the Jewish, the Asians, the Spanish, and the whites, they have structure when it comes to family values. When it comes to beliefs, they have that structure. Black folk, we just, oh, I'm just going with my feelings or the free for all. This is what I feel. This is what I need to do for me. It's always about me and it's not about us. Now, I think that's the problem we have right now. But like I said,
Right.
go ahead.
Okay. I was saying it.
Oh yeah, I was like, yeah, I was just, this. It's like I'm just in belief how when we really break down, we have this conversation, deep dive. It's like, wow, like we have Minister Farrakhan. I was like, I'm surprised this man's still 80 years old and still alive to this day. Or we have other people, but we have people just like we don't know. We call them agents because they might be for the community, but they just right now they just being the snake that is taking everything from us. The next thing we looking lost. Like look at the Black Lives Matter and that allegation they have right now. When the lady just took millions of dollars, I think she took 90 million and she had 60 million in cash hand, and she bought a $6 million home in LA. And now she trying to say she never used the money for personal, but we trying to figure out what you do with the money. Not like I just don't get how we are society as a black community this damage like this.
Like I said, our community just needs to take a step back
Hmm.
and just take a careful look at the people who are being promoted to them as leaders
Hmm.
and ask yourself, what are they actually promoting for us to do? Has it worked? And if it hasn't worked for us, who has it worked for? Very simple.
Yep.
Okay. If it hasn't worked for you, who has it worked for? Because once again, I go back to Malcolm X. He told you, right? If they're being celebrated, they're not working for you.
Yeah.
So if it's not working for you, then look back at who is promoting them and see it's working for someone else, but it's not you.
Yeah.
Okay. And all these people that are doing this, they're not all knowledgeable about what they're doing. Some of them are just hopeful, but that still doesn't mean that they're working for you.
Mm.
You know, some of them
Yeah.
are just as clueless as to what they're doing, but that
Mm.
still doesn't mean they're working for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
some of them actually believe that if they just acted nice for a little bit longer,
Yeah.
it'll change. But is that really the case? So then why do we continuously give them a pass?
Yeah. We always
Hmm?
do. We the first people to
Why?
forgive
Look at the
people.
entire look at the look at the entire hip hop culture. African Americans love to take ownership of hip hop,
Hmm.
right? Look at all the brands that we support in hip hop, from the Louis Vuittons to the Balenciaga to the this to the that. Not a single
Yeah.
black owned brand. How is that?
Hmm.
Remember when hip hop had black owned brands?
Yep.
Remember that?
Hmm.
Now let's go back and look at the artists who strayed us away from our black owned brands, who strayed us away and put us more on the materialistic brands owned by Europeans. Ain't that
Hmm.
the people that they're talking and telling us they're the greatest rapper ever? How? You're not even the greatest rapper from New York.
Yeah.
You're not even the greatest rapper from the high school you went to.
Oh
If
man.
people know, they know who I'm talking about. We don't have to call no name. once again, the establishment sets these rules. They tell you who to worship. They tell you who to like. And sadly, we keep falling for it.
Yep.
The question is, when do you stop?
Oh man, this is
How
great.
many more generations are we going to lose?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we're gonna continue this because I have to
And
close
then
this out.
when people like me tell the truth, then guess what? I get hated.
Hey, that's polarizing. You're a polarizing person, so people don't like the truth. They like to be lied. They like to be delusional. So man, we need more conversation like this.
There you
I
go.
we just need more. I just thank God for the brother Kevin Samuels and I forgot the OJ Juice. There's another couple brothers that's part of that community that is open and light about the black community. They're showing the realistic, like, look here, man, we need to work on ourselves. So I think this is a great
Yeah.
conversation. We're gonna have more of this. I'm gonna keep bringing up more with this. I'm definitely gonna have you next week. We're gonna talk about this more.
We
I,
we actually
go ahead.
we actually need less conversation and we need action.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
we need. We don't need conversation. We need action.
yeah.
All right?
Hmm.
We need action.
Yeah,
The conversation part is dead, because guess what? We got too many people in denial. That's
yeah,
why we're sick. We won't even admit that we need help when
yeah,
we have an obesity rate of 47.9%, right? We want to lie to ourselves and we want the people who are willing to lie to us to tell us, oh, no, you're not overweight. Oh, no, you're not sick, even though the numbers bear it out. You're dying in mass numbers from heart failure, stroke, stress, right? You want to use stupid things saying the BMI chart was wrong and genetically we have more muscle. In 1990, we weren't this size. In 1975, we were even smaller. So what changed?
mm,
Your habits change. Your genetics didn't change. Your habits change. And unless you're willing to acknowledge that, more people will die. More black men will die between the ages of 48, and 55. More black women will die. And guess what? It's not even about you, the black men and black women, because you know what? You can do whatever you want with your life, right? But look at the obesity rate that's now rising among black children. Black children now have an obesity rate of almost 20%. Almost 20%. Why? Because 60% of children who grow up with obese parents are obese themselves. And 80% of them never attain normal weight. So
mm,
guess what? Now you're getting your child started real early with the diabetes, the heart problems, and all these things like that. And why? Ignorance. But when you call it out, people get mad.
yeah,
No, I'm just big bone, and just because I'm big doesn't mean I'm not healthy. Okay. Well, the numbers don't bear it out.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So at
I
some point in
agree.
time, we need action.
Yeah, I agree. We do need action. I definitely agree. We just got to give a plan and keep going, man. I thank you, brother Tice, for coming on today, man. Oh, what's going on? I think they just shut down brother Titus. Oh man, I think they just closed him out. But like I said, everybody, I don't know what happened to brother Titus. Oh, there you go. Oh, they not letting him come on. Mm, I don't know what's going on, but um, I don't know what just happened, but they not letting brother Titus come on. I don't know why, but I'm gonna close this out. Thank you for everybody for coming on for the on the show, Fitness Talk. I don't know what happened to brother Titus, but we're gonna close this out. We're gonna come back next Thursday. We're gonna discuss it more about the black community with the health and value. I'm Kevin, and I thank everybody for coming on. We out.